accredited, CLIA certified, high complexity laboratory, and we have a capacity to run over 35,000 COVID-19 PCR tests daily. It's really important that we stress that we are actually, one of the things that I think really sets us apart from some of the other vendors is the fact that we are the laboratory performing the tests. So not only would we be providing the staffing, we'd also be the lab performing the tests. And I think that really sets us apart from some of the other vendors that are outsourcing and contracting with other laboratories. It gives us complete control of from specimen collection delivery to testing to actually performing the test. So as we mentioned before, we are a full service national laboratory. We have a 35,000 COVID PCR testing capability per day, and our turnaround time is 24 to 48 hours. It would usually be within the 24 hours unless we have to rerun the test for like a confirmatory test. So Sean, go ahead and go to the next slide. So as I stated before, we are a national laboratory. We're located in 37 states around the country. And you could see how we've grown drastically from 2010, 56,289 patients served to an estimated 2,509,038 patients in 2022. And you can see that we are covering the states that we're covering for COVID testing, where we worked with many municipalities and state departments of health across the country. They include Texas, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Georgia, Louisiana, Missouri, North Carolina, and Florida. And this is an extremely important slide that I want to point out to you. I know that Rhode Island means nothing to the state of Texas, but the reason why this is a very important slide is because Rhode Island was actually the #1 testing state in the US, according to Johns Hopkins statistics and covering the testing nationally. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because I'm going to turn this presentation over in a minute to Sean Todd. Sean Todd was the director running the entire state of Rhode Island COVID testing. And so as you can see, he had done an amazing job for the state of Rhode Island back in 2020, 21, when COVID was really taking off. And I'm going to let Sean talk a little bit about what we did and what he did in Rhode Island and what we did elsewhere. And the reason for this is to really point out that you have an exceptional team behind you, not just a laboratory doing testing. So go ahead, Sean, take it away.
Hey, everybody. It's kind of interesting. It's a small state in the country, but we did the most tests per capita. So this is just some of the stuff that we did in Rhode Island, and this is where I live, my home state. So our governor wanted to be the epicenter of testing when COVID started, and we were. AccuReference did more than 400,000 COVID tests in the last 2 years in Rhode Island. We were doing like 20,000, 30,000 COVID tests a day for the state. The first piece here, the McCoy Stadium, that's actually the Boston Red Sox minor league stadium. We created it for 2,000 cars a day. We got it up and running in a week, and we were seeing 5,000 or more cars per day. We also went to places like the beaches. And the next thing I'm going to talk about is this is where it ties into the grant for this coming school year. Is we went mobile. We had mobile teams going on cyclical basis to go to over 200 nursing homes and schools in the state of Rhode Island. And as you know, this is part of the plan that needs to be part of this next school year is cyclical testing. So what happened, our contract ended and Omicron hit in December in Rhode Island. So I was contacted by the governor's office of the state of Rhode Island. The Speaker of the House called me and asked us to come back and help the state fight the surge that was going on. And so what we did was we actually set up see the bottom left part of the screen here, Community College Rhode Island. They've got a huge campus in Warwick, Rhode Island. We set up basically like a tent city there, and we moved to 24-hour operations. We're the only 24-hour operation in the whole state of Rhode Island. So that leads me to the next state we went to was Louisiana. Jefferson Parish, Delta hit there, and they didn't have a COVID testing plan. So they had no help from the National Guard like they did in New Orleans. So the president of the parish called us and asked us to set up a site. We opened up our first site, and we moved it to 5, 6 to 7 sites, running per day, seeing between 500 and 700 cars a day. Then we had Hurricane Ida hit, and the Red Cross asked us to come in to do the same thing, surveillance testing for the people that were displaced from their homes after the hurricane. And so this is what brings us now to Texas. Because of our performance elsewhere, AccuReference was brought on as a approved vendor in January in full-blown Omicron. So we've had a lot of success partnering with small and large districts in Texas. But what makes us different from everybody else is that we've implemented community testing, not just testing for the students. So little Johnny can get a test and it goes through the grant, but if mom and dad need to get a test too, we could bill mom and dad's insurance for testing. We keep everything separate, but we have the opportunity to help with static sites to do moms and dads as well as the kids and the staff members of the school districts. This is just some of the stuff that we've had set up in the different cities. You look at this stuff, we've done a lot, but the reason we've been successful in these different cities is because we've given customized solutions to all these different districts. I wanted just to point your attention to San Antonio, where it says we implemented 32 summer school locations and broke them down a month later. It was 32 summer schools we were asked. We implemented it very quickly. And it wasn't just coming to a cafeteria and test. We were outside of the majority of these schools. So we actually had, mobile testing outside of 32 separate summer schools in San Antonio. Corey, you have, bud.
Yeah, so just to kind of go off of what Sean was saying is one of the things that really set us apart was our ability to step in during Omicron and handle and take over some of the problems that those other ISDs were having with their other vendors. And I believe as of right now that we are the sole vendors for those 3 ISDs because of our ability to be so adaptable to the changing needs and to be able to be flexible enough to and nimble enough to set up what we need to set up very quickly. So being able to get specimen collection kits out within 24 hours, being able to set up testing sites within a couple days, if not a week at the longest. We have the ability to set up mobile solutions extremely quick. So it's really our flexibility, adaptability, and our ability to be extremely nimble that really sets us apart and take it over what some of the other vendors may have struggled with during that really hard time for everybody when Omicron peaked. So go on to the next slide. This talks about test collection. So we have, we could schedule for turnkey option. We have basically you would coordinate with AccuReference to set up testing. We have the ability to provide training for school staff. We have the ability to provide reference materials for school personnel. We have electronic registration, electronic form review and signature by parent guardian for what's the word I'm looking for?
Physical testing in the schools.
Yeah, for the students to be able to get tested, and then we have the ability to translate. We have translation of materials in Spanish. We have a support team available for all programs, and we have a reporting dashboard through AccuCare. So this kind of goes back to what we did in San Antonio, Dallas ISD, and Austin ISD, and it just shows you how much we're able to do in such a quick period of time. That's really the point of this. And we were asked to do a bash for Austin, and we were able to set that up extremely quick for them and make sure that they had a presence there for COVID testing for their large back to school bash. And we can go on, Sean. So talk about our tests. So we have the our rapid antigen test brand is the Quiet Out Quick View. It's a minimum 25 tests and must be ordered in increments of 25. It's a 15-minute turnaround time, and it's an anterior nasal swab. And we provide staffing for that and can also train your staff. The PCR test is the HD PCR chroma code. Minimum orders 100 tests, and must be ordered in increments of 100. It's the 24 to 48 hour turnaround time. We can set up testing with staff as quick as 4 business days from time of contact. We can ship supplies out within 24 to 48 hours of contact, depending on what time of day we are contacted. And we absolutely have the ability to provide on-site staffing as well as mobile testing units to do surveillance testing around the schools. And so I'm going to pass it back off to Sean to kind of go through the process and how it works with us.
Yeah, so this is our AccuCare portal. What's cool about this is that this is homegrown, so we custom built this the way that we needed it to work for Texas. So if there is different applications that you need in your district, we can add on, we can do reports. We've got different districts ask us for different reports that we're able to provide, but this is what it looks like. You basically choose Texas, you can choose here Roosevelt High School, you choose a PCR, a rapid test, you put your information in, and you get your result. This is an example of a rapid result. As you can see, it's nice and easy to read. And then this is our PCR result. So on the left, that's a negative. You can see the green in the middle of the screen there says negative. And it's very obvious, bold red when it's positive. We have a portal, a physician portal where you can look in and see your district's school. You can break it down by feeder systems. You can have it just for high schools. It's a totally customizable how you want to view your PCR results. Yeah, Corey.
So the onboarding process is very simple. You would contact us via texassales@AccuReference.com. An email will get sent to our team. We will then set up an account. First we would contact you back, find out what your solution needs are. But basically we'd set up an account. You can order tests through TexasSupplies@AccuReference.com once the account's set up. You'll also be given Sean and I's direct contact information or any of our team members that's needed once we set up the relationship. There'll be a confirmation email with tracking number that also has the purchase order on it, as well as when you receive your supplies, you'll have the purchase order tied to that. Each ISD will report to DSHS the supplies were received, and you'll discuss the staffing needs and with myself and with Sean to come up with an implementation plan. So we have some references here. These are the 3 major ISDs that we worked with. San Antonio ISD and Tony Thompson is a contact that you can reach out to as a reference. Austin ISD, Elena is the testing coordinator for Austin, and Jennifer is the testing coordinator for Dallas ISD. So when choosing AccuReference, you're not just choosing a lab, you're choosing the #1 COVID testing team in the country as stated by Johns Hopkins. So leave it at that and see if there's any questions.
Got it. So right now, and thank you for that presentation, you all. Right now, I don't see any questions in the Q&A feature, but I also want to make sure that Dishes or someone else might want to add something. You all might want to add any more context, or Diane or Nika, anyone, if you want to add anything, feel free. If not, folks, please go ahead and drop your questions in the Q&A feature and we'll go from there.
I don't have anything, Damon, but if you could do what you did with the others and review the TEA webpage and the vendor resource chart.
Yep. I will do that now. thought we might have had a question or two, so I was trying to hold off, but I will do that now. Give me just a second and I will share my screen. While I'm doing this, we still have plenty of time. Anyone, if you have questions, please drop them in there. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So as Diane mentioned, it's really important that you all continue to check out the TEA website. It's our K-12 COVID-19 testing program website. And this is where all of the most updated information is. We update this website at least twice a week because we update the allocations on Tuesdays and Fridays. But then we also update other documents. So briefly walking you through this K-12 testing program, we have our FAQ and our guidance document. This guidance document walks you through the program. There's a step-by-step guide and FAQ that'll be updated within the next 1 to 2 business days by tomorrow evening, which will have just questions that we get on a week-to-week basis that are pretty common. We put them here. Reporting templates. So the TSRR form, staffing, if you're getting staffing from AccuReference, this will be the staffing log you would use. The TSRR form is here, along with the inventory survey or report. They're both linked here. And then what's really important, I think, here right now too, is the vendor resource sheet. And so this is the vendor resource sheet that all of the vendors have and that are on. Diane does a really good job. She meets with the vendors weekly, and we update this whenever there's updates here. And so if you look there now, if I were to go here, go to AccuReference, they're the first column, highlight there, you'll see all of the AccuReference information you need, from their vendor statement to scheduling, to references, reporting, information on the antigen test, PCR test, the whole nine. Everything is there, and then their contact information. So please continue to check out the vendor resource sheet because a lot of your questions can be answered there. And then this is the allocation sheet. This is when you want to order a test from AccuReference. You would go to see that your name has appeared because you've applied and everything is good to go. And then you would go here and use this as a reference as you're applying for, oh, that's my email. That shouldn't be up there. Okay, a lot going on. Sorry, no worries. Let me get back to what I was on. Okay, stop sharing. That's all right. Things happen. All right. But please check out our website. If you can, I should have just went back. That's okay. I can edit that out on the back end. But please check out our website. We also have the application up, and then there's also a preview to the application, which is right here as well. So you can check this out before you apply to kind of see what it's going to require of you. So with that said, let me stop sharing. I do believe we have a question or two in the chat. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then there we go. Our question, can you please elaborate on the shift to screening testing only? So that's a TA dishes question. Are we not able to set up sites for symptomatic staff and students to be referred to? So thank you for the question. So the CDC, within the last week or two, did change their general guidance around screening testing, and it's not mandated anymore as it was prior to. However, they have not updated the grant guidance or the grant guidelines, and that is what dishes and TA follows. And so until the grant guidelines are officially released from the CDC, we're going to adhere to what the current grant guidelines say, which says that these testing products, PCR and antigen, are primarily for screening testing. Now, if you look on our FAQ and some other places, we do talk about the exception to the rule, which is actually in our FAQ, that if a person, a staff or student member becomes symptomatic on your campus, then you can test them. But that should be the minority of your testing. The majority of what you're doing should be screening testing. And so setting up sites right now to solely test symptomatic individuals would not be in accordance with the grant guidelines. Now, once they're updated, we will make a blast, send it out, and update all of our guidance documents to reflect the updated grant guidelines. I hope I've said that in a succinct way or adequately, Diane, or anyone from Dishes, if you want to jump in and add to that, you can.
Nope, you did good.
So do you mind if I jump in and say something to that?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah. So again, this is an ever-changing situation, and that's one of the real advantages that AccuReference team brings to the table is our ability to adapt. So if we're setting up mobile testing units to go and have cyclical testing at all of your different schools and campuses, and all of a sudden there's a change in the grant status that allows for stationary sites to be set up, that is something that we'll be able to do. The other thing that we're able to do, like we had mentioned before, is provide community testing. So when you do have a need for a stationary site and we make sure that it makes sense, we could potentially set up a stationary site that's not tied to the grant, that's for the community. But if a student or staff member happened to go to that site, we would be able to use some of the testing supplies or equipment for that, but not the staffing for that. So it is something that we can be very nimble, very flexible, and come up with different solutions based on the different needs. But we full-heartedly plan on having mobile testing units going out to sites cyclically with the ability to change and adapt on the fly to set up stationary sites if need be. As you can see, we've done it in the past. We were able to set up 32 sites within like a week or two at tops. I mean, it took us no time to be able to do that.
Thank you for that, Corey. Please continue to drop your questions into the Q&A feature. Corey, you all might have touched on this, and sorry if I'm asking you to repeat. So if I'm a school district and I reach out and I want PCR testing or antigen testing, typically what's the turnaround on those tests for me to receive them? Does it depend on where I'm located or?
Yeah, so if you reach out, if I'm able to place an order before 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, you'll get it the next day. If it's after 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, you'll get it the following day. So within 24 to 48 hours of requesting the testing kits, you will receive them, depending on how early in the day you ask for them.
Perfect, and that's antigen and/or PCR, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
And then there are instances, depending on where you're located, where we could actually do same-day delivery. We set up, just as an FYI, we set up a hub in Austin and we set up a hub in Dallas where we have a number of kits on hand set aside in case we have an emergency and an order goes through and it goes through the proper way. We could potentially get those out same day if needed.
Is that the same? And then what about for staffing? How far in advance? Let's say by September 5th, or September 6th, the day after Labor Day, I want staffing to be in my district. How in advance do I need to order tests and staffing to set up shop for the 6th of September?
So, I mean, realistically, I would say 4 to 7 days. If it's an emergency, we'll find a way to get it sooner. But if we're given 4 to 7 days, that should be more than enough time for us to set it up, depending on how large a scope we're looking at too. But we are very quick to being able to set this up. We have a very good system in place, and we've been able to do it very successfully in those 3 other school districts very quick as needed. And their needs have changed and requests and requirements have changed. And, we've been able to answer the bell whenever rang for us. So that's why I believe they've chosen us to be their sole vendor over the next 2022-23 school year.
Sure.
Because of what we've been able to do.
Yeah, I'll just add to it because I don't see more questions in here. So in San Antonio, we had to hire 80 staff members in 7 days and set up 32 sites in a drive-through fashion. And when we did it, it wasn't easy, but we got it done. And then the school year ended, the grant ended, and we packed everything up in 32 different locations. So we have the ability to staff quickly and get tests out to the kids that need it, and break it all down when it's time to break it down.
Yeah, and so this is a very fluid situation. As things start to spike, needs are going to change. When things start to cool down, again, things change. So I believe we have the experience, as you've seen, and the resources to be able to move at relatively lightning speed as needed.
Anyone from Dishes or anyone else want to add anything that may not have been brought up that we feel would be great while we have this time with school districts? And this is going to be posted, so.
Yeah. Did you guys go over your pricing, or?
It was on the slide. I didn't verbalize it, but we if you want to share the screen with Sean, Sean, if you could scroll down to those things, I can verbalize it. It's $21 for the antigen test, $75 per hour for the staffing, and $39 per PCR test. And the staffing is a minimum of 4 hours. The minimum PCR is 100, and the minimum order is 25 in increments, 25 for the rapid antigen test. And we have plenty on stock, so we do not anticipate running out. We need your orders.
Yeah.
That's one of the things when we came on board, was that there was a lot of school districts that couldn't get testing kits out. And that's how we kind of started with a lot of school districts, was just because we had inventory, because we're in so many other states doing the same type of operation. So.
And we had great upper management support behind us.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, if there aren't any more questions, I don't want to belabor the time. You know, if no one else wants to share anything from either the AccuReference or Dishes side, we want to formally thank you, AccuReference, for all that you've done, all that you're doing, for this great presentation. As we mentioned earlier, we will be posting this recording on our website, along with a link to the slide deck that they shared. It will remain up for the remainder of the school year. I showed you all where the vendor resource sheet is. Their contact information is there. Please reach out to them if you have more questions regarding testing. And we just thank you once again, AccuReference, for being here today. We're looking forward to another successful year.
Absolutely, and thank you, TEA and DSHS, for allowing us to participate with this program.
Problem. Well, with that said, you all enjoy the rest of your day, and we will be in touch soon.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.